Well, hello and welcome to my spaceship. How do you like that? So, I am your navigator and captain today. I am Tamara Caulder Richardson, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. This is part two of Karen Holton, which the first part we talked about her angel experience. And this time we're going to talk about her other dimensional slash alien experiences. So, I did want to mention that I'm going to be on her show, the Aliens and Angels podcast. You'll have the link below. Do check that out. That will be this Sunday live at 2 p.m. And I do want to mention that, a couple announcements, and then we're going to jump into this about aliens and the experiences she's had. And we're going to go into disclosure, post disclosure. It's going to be fun. So if you haven't signed up, sign up for my newsletter, academyofdivinewisdom.com, where I have free and paid for online classes and events and workshops, and I'll be having more coming up. If you want a spiritual session, a Starseed session, you can find that on the Academy of Divine Wisdom under services. I do activations and also galactic readings and earth missions. And if you're grieving, I am an excellent evidential medium, trained 8 years of the British style of mediumship. Of course, I've been talking to spirits since 3, but I can read privately or groups of family online. I do it all over the world. And also, if you're interested in live pass session, and that's at southernbellmedium.com. I have merchandise at the Seeking Heaven store. I encourage you to check it out. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share, and make comments below. So let's get going. We're going to blast off right now. So I have Karen back. Karen was on the first episode, and we're going to talk about her alien experiences, but she is an ET and angel experiencer and author. And welcome back to the Seeking Heaven channel.
Nice to be here. Nice to see you again.
Absolutely. Well, we are gonna have some fun because this is one of my favorite topics. So maybe we should kind of parlay from the last episode you need to watch about the angels and your profound experience. It was so beautiful, really beautiful. So don't miss that. So from there, you had your angelic experience, and you said that opened the door to other planetary races. And I think I told you in between our time, I said that's kind of what happened to me. Things have unfolded and higher, and then that came to mind next too. So maybe we could start with how that unfolded with your the lack of a better word, we'll use alien. Of course, alien could be ultra dimensionals. So just take it from there. How wherever you think that point is, where you started coming into your consciousness.
Well, it started when I was asleep in my dream state, and I was aware that I was meeting with entities. I wasn't really clear on who they were or where they were or anything like that. But it would start with me like I'd have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I'd wake up, but I'd be embarrassed because I was in the middle of a meeting, and that's what I call the exopolitical meetings, where I realized I was an ambassador for Earth, from Earth, not the only ambassador, but certainly an ambassador from Earth. And I was meeting with other beings from different realms,
Mm-hmm.
and they were always wanting to know things like how I was perceiving our reality here on Earth, what was going on, how was it affecting me, how was it affecting other humans. And they were just super interested in knowing more about what was going on here. And anyway, so I'd wake up, and it's like when I was asleep I was there, but when I would wake up, then I would be here, and I would not be there, I would be here. Then I'd go to the bathroom, go back to bed, go back to sleep, and I'd be there again. And at first I was really
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed. I thought, I wonder if they know that I'm peeing, like, I didn't know what the rules or how it worked, right? But they didn't seem to care. It didn't seem to matter. It was irrelevant. And a lot of those experiences, I know I was there. I go there all the time. I still go there all the time, but I don't remember the details. And then I found out later this was for my own protection, because if
Mm-hmm.
I remembered the details, two things. One is there are agencies here on Earth who would be pestering me for the intelligence. And I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about that because I can't access it to give it to them. And the other thing is this way I'm able to participate in my own life, my own journey, have a full earthly experience, which is why I'm here for soul development and for
Mhm.
soul evolution. And it's not like my memories are wiped. I agree to go through the process to have them, and they're just buried so deep. Nobody, I mean, they could put me through MK Ultra and I still wouldn't have that
Um,
information. And
Can
so that's one aspect of my ET contact. That happened first.
Okay, cool. So that's a lot, but I got some questions. So could you explain to everyone what exopolitical, that seems like a big word, and kind of, I want to dive deeper in that and kind of slow it down, like what these, so basically, I don't want to call it the astral because the astral's the lower realm. So the quantum, the higher realms. And the way I look at it when I ask you is that I just put my attention and take me to my highest good where I need to go, and I can end up on a starship. I've
Yeah,
been in those meetings like conference table, and they look all different kind of beings, and they're
yeah,
saying you're here to help, and then I'm usually going, well, explain some stuff to me. It's usually me doing that, and then they're like really patient and really nice. So uh, if I'm doing it and you're saying that, which is making me chuckle, then there's a ton of other people that go to these like little
yeah.
meetings, and it's interesting. It happens the same time for me when I'm in a deep sleep, and I remember parts of it. And I remember the funny parts, me asking them things, and then when it's really serious and they respond, that sometimes that's blacked out. But I think you're right. I really do, Karen. I think that there are, you could say, human forces here that have alien technology, but they don't have everything. And they're trying to find basically secret information of
Hmm.
these councils. Now, to me, they look like councils. I've been on the Galactic Federation, and it looked like a ship, but I mean, honestly, it kind of looked like a conference room, but they just had different beings on it. What did it look like to you?
Well, I just want to get back to your first question.
It's a political.
Exopolitical
Thank you.
means exo means not of Earth, outside of Earth is
Okay.
what exo means. And political is all kinds of things about the goings on of beings and our
Okay.
interrelationship with these beings who are not on Earth. That's exopolitical. And then an ambassador is someone who's representing humankind
Mhm.
there and interfacing with them. Now, when I go to those meetings, it's like just like being in a room, but I notice the table's round, and we're sitting around a round table, and there's a center that's cut out where there's sometimes holographic images illustrating the
Mhm.
subject that we're talking about.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, what was your second question?
No, that's good. No, no. To me, I see they. If I ask on something, it's really I can't see when I have things. Another thing I wanted to mention, just kind of, I'm like taking this all in, is that here we are human right here, right? But in these states, they're using alien technology, so it's hard to explain, like because we don't have anything like it here. But what it looks like to me, what they've done is they do a lot of things where they wave their hand and they do certain things, and then like
Yeah.
a holograph shows up, and then they
Hmm.
just do a couple things, and then it's something else. It's like they're like no computers or what have you. And even the doors, they do something, and then the doors, it's like intention. So do you think a lot of the meeting, and it's telepathic,
Hmm.
uh, the meeting? So we're not the only ones. There's a ton of people. Oh, I just have to ask you. I'm just going to jump the gun on this. So, look, I'm trying to figure out stuff to myself. Okay, maybe two of us together can figure it out. But I have seen there was a marker. It was very important, and maybe it was like 2 years ago, maybe a little longer. And I woke up in this dream, and I'm in an auditorium, but in like a mothership, like huge. And there was a bunch of us humans in there, and the etheric form, but we look like bodies. We had bodies, but and we were in this room like it was all hands on deck kind of thing, and we all, like you, me, different one, we showed up. We were in that room, and and I don't know what it was, but it was like we were being delivered a message, like this is what's going
Yeah.
on, and I
Yeah,
don't remember the message.
I get into that actually in the chapter on orientation. And that's exactly right. So it's just like
Okay.
I was just there. Can't explain how I got there. There was all kinds of other what I thought were people at the time there. And then I noticed there's slight differences. So I thought maybe they're not from Earth. I don't know. I didn't even know I was on what I call it the big ship, and it's a city ship, like what you described. And
Yeah,
we were
that's
waiting for
it. It's like a whole city.
our
Yeah.
orientation process. And the funny thing about the big ship, I'm going to jump ahead here and just tell
Oh,
you,
that is
is
so
it's
cool. So you
conscious.
were there. You've been there in
Yeah.
that
Oh,
ship.
yeah. Oh,
You
yeah. I
you
have a whole chapter in my book about
oh
it.
my gosh, well, I gotta read the book. I had no idea about this, and I
Yeah.
actually have never told anyone this, but it was an orientation, it was very important, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's super important.
we had on our little uniforms. We had little uniforms and little leotard uniforms. I don't know how, but and we had this thing, and we were like, but then I don't know what we were told at all. Period. But I've actually met people, and I'm like, they were there in that meeting, but I've never said anything. So you've been
Yeah.
to that place too.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And the big
Oh
ship
my
is
gosh.
alive. It's actually alive and intuitive. And so we can communicate with it. So we don't need technology. And what's really
Mhm.
cool is everything we need, it just appears like magic. So the doors materialize and then dematerialize after we
Mhm.
go through. And it's some kind of self-assembling biological, like nanotechnology that just assembles and
Exactly.
deassembles when we don't need it. And it looks like
Exactly.
magic, but it's actually very much scientific.
I've actually asked him that, like, when they went like this, there was no door, no seam, and then
Yeah.
we went into another reality, and he changed it. It was like it wasn't really like a holograph room, it's just that they can, yeah, like, it's a breathing like a planet, and then they showed me how things were made. Did you go to the starship where they showed, like, where it was like he said it's made with, plasma and consciousness, and it was like a light beam that went straight up. Did they show you that?
No, I know it,
Oh, man.
that wasn't part of my experience, but that doesn't surprise me. And these city ships are, yeah, everything is telepathy. All the beings is
Yeah.
telepathy. Everything's telepathy. There's no spoken words at all.
Mm.
And but there's a number of different kinds of city ships. Some are etheric, some are light ships, some are biological. The one I was on was a lot biological, and I refer to it as the big ship. So the thing for the
Mhm,
listeners and the viewers to
mhm.
understand is we're not given concepts so where we can talk about this stuff. We're not even given language. So we take our experiences, we filter it
Exactly.
through our own perceptual arena, and then we're using words which are not exactly accurate, but in our best way, we're trying to communicate what we've seen and what we've been through.
That's
And
it.
I think that we all have legitimate experiences. So I would never tell anybody else I don't believe in their story because it's no more fantastical than mine. And so we're filtering them through our own
It's
perceptual
tough.
arena, trying to communicate, and it comes across differently. But I think a lot of our experiences are quite similar.
Yeah, it kinda 'cause I was like, "Look, I just," I'm pretty I try to be candid, and especially if something comes up, I like, "Okay," because maybe I get something, you get something, I don't know, so I just put it out there, but, what you're telling me is very similar, and I actually kinda surprised because this is the first time I'm hearing this. Now, I know there's a lot of others as well, but it's I love what you said, and I say it all the time. We don't have the vocabulary, or we don't have the I'll say technologies. It's not really science, but technologies and understandings of the advancement. So it's hard to
Hmm.
explain concepts when we don't have them here.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of a roadblock coming out of the gate because it's hard to explain things that are not seen to us that we don't have here. But we do know that we have alien technologies. So tell me, okay, so they started coming through. This is very good news to me. I got to just tell you, Karen, because they were doing the same thing to me and getting up, going to bed, and I go back to sleep, and then I'm back in the room again. And the thing is, and I know if there's two of us, there's got to be a ton of people this is happening to.
Absolutely, there is. In
And so
fact, I
tell us
was told
why.
I was told there's millions of us that are doing this kind of transdimensional shifting and traveling. But the thing is, two things. First of all,
Okay.
most people don't remember because it would
Mm,
interfere with their life. And quite frankly, when it first started
mm,
happening for me, at first I thought I was dreaming, and then I thought it was crazy. I'd never heard of any of this before. I'd never heard of anybody doing any of this before. I thought it was crazy. And it
right.
really messed me up psychologically for a while until I was able to figure it all out and downstep the information. And so what happens is, so people can fit seamlessly back into their lives,
Mm,
they don't remember, their memories are suppressed. And then the other thing too is the other thing too is you know, we don't want these experiences to interfere with our soul development. And then also we tend to discredit ourselves, we gaslight ourselves, we kind of go, wow, that was a really wild dream I had last night, but no, that can't be real,
mm,
I was just dreaming. We gaslight ourselves because, first of
mm.
all, who wants to be a weirdo? Second of all, who wants to put themselves out for ridicule? Because that's what happens. Everybody calls you a nutter and says you're crazy and whatever. You get a fair amount of disrespect when you share your information, right? And and so we discount it. So in my book, in chapter 9, I actually tell people how to listen and how to set themselves up for success in transdimensional experiences. But
This book here.
oh, yeah, we all have transdimensional experience. This is a part of our birthright. What people don't
Mhm,
realize is
mhm.
that we are technology, and our imagination, our pineal gland, the way we're set up, that's why we're so important, because we have incredible potential, but we've been dummied down and we've been gaslit, and we haven't been told the truth. And I want to say one other thing is, the
Mm.
reason that I'm just going to say, oh, humans, basically humans who are empathy deficient, the reason they have, why they're so interested in ET technology and reverse engineering technologies and things from ET, is because they don't have the ability that comes with those of us who have compassion and
Mm.
empathy and creativity, because
Come on.
they could go there themselves if they had those things, right? And so they don't have
Oh,
it. And
yes.
because they're
Oh,
empathy deficient, they have to rely on these tinkering around with technologies. We have it because we are the
oh my
empaths.
god.
We are the
Oh.
compassionate. We
We're
are
the
the children
empath.
of God.
Right, we're empaths. I love this, and matter of fact, as you were talking, it did it again. It started vibrating my crown chakra, and that was always like, "Yes!" That's where the angels are going, "Hell, yes!" So here's and I wanna add a little extra to this, and I wanna get back on the track about these dreams and about how it relates to people, 'cause, this what we're talking about right now, I promise you, I know this. It's waking up tons of people going, "Oops, I didn't tell anyone." Just like I didn't tell anyone about that. It was like, I don't know, like a big college auditorium kinda, I don't know, it was huge. Anyway,
Yeah.
getting back, um, the empathy. So I think that's why, and I've been getting downloads on this, and I think it's just because, when your consciousness asks, then you get responses back, so you're like, "Oh, okay." So you can keep moving along so you don't get hung up. So, I've been asking like, "Okay, there's dark forces, blah, 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 blah." And they said, and then I got a download on that. And then why it's so important what you said, it is our divine birthright, and we are empathic, and we're connected through the love, and that's what this technology is. It's so much more than that, than science and all the things that we know here, because like you said, it's the lack of that um, empathy for others and humanity, and the ETs know it, the angelics know it. But getting back is that because there are certain, whether they have bodies or no bodies, the archons, they try to hijack people because they're trying to feel that. But then they said they don't have to be archons, they can just be people that are kind of heartless and have no empathy, that they try to rob it. We call them psychic vampires. They try to
Mm-hmm.
rob it. So I'm not saying anyone can't change. I'm not saying that anyone can change. Anybody, if they want to do the work, because it's a lot of work. If they want to do
Mm-hmm.
the work and submit and learn, and they can.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
I think that's the division, because there's an absolute division we're
There
feeling,
is.
and it's not because something that happened 5 years ago, although that was, but it's about thinking for yourself and trusting your own guidance and your own birthright and what you're being told, because we all have teams that are angelic teams, star family teams, holy teams, whatever you want to call it,
That's
family.
why that's why Jesus said you have to become like a little child. You have to become
Oh,
innocent.
yeah.
That
I
return
love that.
to innocence
Mhm.
where you're humble and you
Yes.
just have that wide-eyed reverence for, oh my gosh, it's so
Yes.
amazing. Like you got to go back to that. And it's kind of like being in touch with the inner child. We need to touch that.
Oh, you know what?
And
I can't, this is what I mean. This is so great, because these are things I say and you're saying it, which just really validates my existence, because I'm like,
yeah.
and the angels are going, yeah, again, yeah. So this is like, remember I said I was in the Gulf of Mexico recently, and then I saw this massive thing, and there was a bunch of people like on the Glide Origins Cruise. They didn't see it. I've got a freaking mothership on film, and but I'll eventually show it. But for the story now is, I'm looking at it, and why? Because I said this. I had been kind of walking around. I was kind of mopey a bit. No one saw that, but I was a bit mopey inside, and I went, I really love you. I'd really like to see you. I really just want to feel connected. That's all. And
Hmm.
that's what I said. And then when
Hmm.
I saw it, I went, wow, it's just so beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm,
Do you see how
mhm.
innocent that was? I didn't sit there
Yeah,
and do
you have to
all
be.
this
You
CE.
have to be in that place of innocence, and if you can't go there, then you got work to do, and that's shadow work. We all gotta do it. It's not fun, it's hard work,
It
but
sucks.
boy,
Yeah.
does it pay off. Oh my god, I would not trade it for anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way out is the way through,
Yeah.
but everybody's doing the technologies of CE5. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm saying that it's more simple than that. The higher level beings resonate with sincerity and love and purity
Mhm,
of intention. And so
mhm.
that's all I did. And I kept saying, I miss you. And then I did it on the balcony. I said, well, thank you for spending this time. I look forward to seeing you again at home. And then I saw another light that was in the black ocean up above, and I filmed that. I mean, because they, y- time and distance doesn't really matter so much. They can project things that I
Mhm.
understand, but it was just that simple of that love. And I think that's what I love what you're doing, is that you're trying to get people to bridge the aliens and us, and really, there's not a lot of differences, and so I want to go into that. Okay, so this sort of happened to you at night, which is so cool. But I love your story. Then I get up and pee, but then I went back to it. And do you go in cycles? Like I notice they'll do this for a while, and then they'll cycle. It feels like they cycle off, and then it'll cycle back on. Is that with you,
Oh,
or?
well, not really. What happened for me is it started one night. It happened every night for 3 months of our time. But there's a time dilation. They don't have time and space the way we perceive it. So I could be gone for days, weeks, even months, come
Mm,
back, and it was the very next morning. Go to bed that night, pick up exactly where I left off. So I had about 3.5 years worth of experiences every night, only at nighttime for 3 months of our time, and then it stopped. But I got to tell you, I was really messed up because my head was so full. Can you imagine going and having two a weeks or 3 weeks or a month of experiences, and then you wake up in the morning, and I'm wandering around with my cup of tea and my kitty cat, going, "What the hell just happened to me?" Trying to sort it out, and all the memories and everything, go to bed, and it happens again and again. After 3 months, it stopped. And the
did you
reason
feel
it had,
sad when they
pardon?
left? Did you feel sad after the 3 months? Pardon me, but did you?
Well, not in the beginning because, like I said, my head was so full. I had so
Okay.
much to process. But
Mm,
I'm going to tell you what it's like. Being there was like going home. Being here is like being away from home. And it feels like I miss it because it feels like I've been away from home for a very, very long time. And I want to be back because it was a measure of safety and love and kindness and compassion, and none of this deviousness, lying,
Mm,
cheating. Like, it
come
was
on.
so
Mm.
different. And to come back to what I have to face in my everyday life here is traumatizing. It's absolutely traumatizing. And so, but you see, I needed to sort myself out. I needed to write the book, and I needed to put it out there so humanity could share in my experience. And my book is not technical. I bring people right into my experience with me so they can really get a feel for what it was like and know that they can have that too.
Have you had anyone else say, "Oh my gosh, I was there too," or "This seems familiar," and they're starting to wake up from the dream?
Lots of people find it's familiar. I have had so
Mm.
many people write to me and say to me, I burst into tears when I read your book because I thought it was just me. I validate what so many of us know on an instinctive level. I validate something deep within our core that we know is true. And other people may not get that, but I've had so many people write to me and tell me what a difference it's made, and they just love my book.
Well, so okay, so let's go back. So they're waking you up. This is going on 3 months. And just as a big question, they're doing this to other people. And like you said, they're not telling us everything because there's lack of a better word, technology is mainly maybe get in the wrong hands information. So
Mm-hmm,
they just kind of
mm-hmm,
wipe certain things out. So,
mm-hmm.
we don't get that for our own safety and so forth. Why then how if we're not allowed to remember our what do you think? You think we're going to be allowed to remember at some point?
Yeah, I think a combination of things can happen. Some people experience a triggering event and then they get this flood of memories.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, sometimes they think they're going crazy and they go see a psychiatrist and they get on a whole bunch of drugs to try to shut that down, which I get into that whole the psychiatric industry and ET contact and interdimensional contact. Also, I get into that in my book. But that's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is when the time is right. So, for instance, in 2020, like, I had some memories, but I didn't have enough to do my book. But in 2020, I was practicing my astral traveling. I met up with Bob the Gray, and as I mentioned before in the last segment, he's like almost on par with the angels as far as his psychic and spiritual abilities. And he helped facilitate releasing my memories, and he helped to facilitate a trip back to the big ship, which was definitely an astral form. And I got to go back to the big ship. And that is when I ended up being drawn to this room and realized that I had been in that room so many times from those exopolitical meetings I was telling you about when we first started talking about this. And I
Mhm.
got some information about alien implants that I brought back to Earth. And well, that's another whole topic.
Oh, well, do they really need I mean, that seems like an old wave of stuff. They don't really need that now. They can just tell by our frequency. They know where you are, right?
I'm not sure what your question is. Sorry. Can you ask it a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
way?
yeah. So the implants, like actual physical implants, which we've heard of them, people have them. I've seen them on people. That was one of a you could say tracking, but they can track us by our intention, our love, and our
Oh,
purity. They know who we are already. Like I said, I was over there and then I was back home. And like they know where I am. They know where you are. I mean, right? I mean,
yeah,
they
but
don't need
we're
that.
not talking about that kind of implant. They
Oh,
don't they don't need
okay.
that. Implants come from a whole bunch of things. Implants can be etheric, they can be holographic, they can be genetic, they can be biological, they can be
Okay.
crystalline, they can be metallic,
Okay.
and they've been put into us, like for instance, the holographic and the genetic implants have been put into us probably thousands of years ago for God knows what scientific purposes they had in mind. But
Okay.
even today, humans are developing, I don't know if you've heard of the transhumanist agenda, but they are putting in Morgellons and chemtrails. They're putting all kinds of self assembling technologies into our bodies, even today, from
Yeah.
humans. So these are not necessarily from aliens. In fact, aliens are highly evolved. I cannot, ETs, I can't see them spending their time trying to
Yeah.
do tinkering around with technologies to control us. They don't operate that way. They're very much, like you said, on a frequency related basis.
So, okay, so you're kind of going deep. So let me ask you this. So implants could be something way back on our genetic line in the past. It's
Yeah.
been encoded, and that might actually impede or stop or whatever maybe our abilities. And if that's the case, that if we as a sovereign being request God, angels, star family, just get rid of that. Can't they do
Well,
that? Our sovereign
um,
ability to say,
I think
get rid of these implants?
probably we can, but what the reason I went to that meeting in 2020 was they wanted me and the other people that were there to understand the nature of them and to come back and bring the information here. So,
Mm,
long story short, these technologies generally they're embedded into us on a physical, etheric, holographic level. But what happens is they interfere with our natural electronic system, our light body.
mm,
They interfere with what we call EMF, which is electronic
mm,
magnetism, like EMFs, that we get from cell phone towers and stuff. It's on that
mm.
same level. And what it does is it causes our bodies to not be as attached to our higher self, to what we are on
Oh, that's so
higher
bad.
realms.
That
So it's like
sucks.
a blocking system, so we can't even reach out to the spiritual forces that can cure us. The other thing it does is the body will its own mechanisms to try to cope with these